I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Since the 1930s, Ann Arbor has laid roots in the figure skating community, even being the birthplace of synchronized skating. Watch as our local figure skaters soar during Melody on Ice. The Ann Arbor Figure Skating Club celebrated legends and icons during the 77th annual Melody on Ice.
There are over 200 skaters in the show this year. There are 45 different numbers, and they range in ability level from little toddlers that can wiggle backward and jump and are just probably the sweethearts of the entire show, to adult numbers, but a lot of mid-range levels.
What we're looking at is the legends and icons of music, people like Prince, Queen, Aretha Franklin, Elvis. We're going through the whole gamut.
It's a lot of fun. The songs this year are really good. They're total jams.
We're doing Respect by Aretha Franklin.
I come in and just kind of like help boost up the show a little bit, right? Like get to meet the kids, get to spend time with them. It's a nice thing for some of the skaters that haven't really been doing this a long time to talk to somebody that has, and they've been through, that whole path that a competitive ice skater goes through.
The club has created some legends of their own on the ice.
We've had amazing skaters come out of the Ann Arbor Figure Skating Club, and Olympians, in fact, that have represented in the last 3 Olympics.
Skating's a very interesting thing where it takes so much time and so much effort to be able to understand the craft, because as you can kind of tell, the first time you put ice skates on, you step on the ice, it's a very foreign feeling and it's very uncomfortable. Yet when you watch someone on television, it looks really natural and really graceful.
It's fun to watch people enjoy themselves. It's fun to see how a lot of people's work pays off.
For more on the Ann Arbor Figure Skating Club, visit AnnArborFSC.org. Snow is in the air, and as soon as those white flakes start to accumulate, there's some need-to-know info for residents and business owners. Learn more about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part, clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
Since our collective worlds have flipped upside down, it's been nearly a year since audiences have lost the pleasure of experiencing live theater. But even worse, actors have lost the home where their passion thrives. The Brass Tacks Ensemble created a new space for their members with the series Our Regularly Scheduled Program. Joining me is Isaac Ellis, president of the Brass Tacks Ensemble. Welcome back to the show, Isaac.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
So why don't you tell me about how, the pandemic started, you guys weren't able to do, your normal live theater productions. You do a couple productions a year.
Mhm.
So then what, you kind of got together, you were still writing, but you didn't have a space to act.
Yeah, we were in the fortunate position actually of knowing that we weren't going to produce a show in 2020. That was kind of a decision we made at the beginning, because we had so many things going on, and we're all a complete volunteer organization, and we decided we just needed a little break. So we said, let's not produce. But yes, we were running a playwriting club for anyone who was interested, and a play reading club, which was one of our favorite things, just to get together and read plays together and discuss them. So we were keeping those going anyway, and then COVID hit, so then we had to kind of retool what we were doing there too.
So the writing kept going, and you guys, I'm sure you guys had like just stacks of papers that you had written. And
It was a very interesting thing because we moved it all online. We were meeting in coffee shops
okay,
before. But we moved it online. We didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but we quickly found that being able to read each other's work and comment on it over Zoom was really hard. And it just didn't have the same vibe. So we kind of had to retool how the entire writing club worked and what we were trying to achieve with it. The play reading club was going really well, and people still really enjoyed doing it that way. The biggest thing that we found is that we had to make people use their phones for audio because there's much less delay. And when you're reading a play, if there's this much delay in between every line, a one-act play can suddenly take 3 hours to read. And so we had to retool how we functioned with that as well.
yeah. So then, you're doing your normal sort of stuff. You're going via Zoom. You're meeting at coffee shops if you can. So then, how did you decide with your members that you were going to create this series?
So it was a huge thing. I emailed all of our members, our artists who normally work with us, and said, hey, we have a subscription to this video editing software. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. And James and Gajola had an idea, and we sat and talked about it. And it's akin to some other ideas, some crazy things that we've talked about and even started planning for past productions of the Brass Tacks that just never panned out. Just some wild and crazy ideas about things that no one does. And maybe there's a reason, but we still like to try them. And so he pitched this idea, and we decided just to start doing it because what could we lose? And it essentially is set maybe in the future-ish, kind of. And the general premise was that it was now a civic duty to go on TV or go on camera for 5-6 minutes and entertain everybody else. So it was much like jury duty now, where you would get like a notice that said, hey, Friday at 8:05 p.m., you're on camera.
Uh-huh.
And so people would prepare stories. This is all normal people. These aren't like actors are being chosen. This is just everybody has to do it. And so, yeah, people would decide to tell stories or read a recipe or sing a song or do whatever, but they're not performers. So it's all real people doing it. And that was the general premise that we went off of.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we just started writing. We reached out to some of the members, and it turned out for the first season, James and I wrote all of the episodes.
Okay. I was actually sort of wondering how they came about, because it is like, I'm assuming it's a little different than what your normal playwriting is, because it's a single person speaking into the camera.
Yes. And in a way, yes, I should clarify, these are all monologues. And every single one of them, except for one, which was purposely not done that way. There were 9 episodes in the first season. Every single one of them was recorded in one take. So each one, there's no editing involved. It's just 5 to 6 minutes of this person on camera talking.
And these are monologues that you and James all wrote and then
Yes.
gave to the people that are playing the characters throughout the season.
Yes. So we wrote these, put everything together, and kind of figured out an arc and an order, and had many discussions where we could still get together. It was warm enough. We would get together on a porch and have a giant Post-it note between us, and the two of us would discuss what it was, this crazy idea that we were trying to develop. And then we wrote these monologues and recruited members, and recruited a few other actors we've worked with, and even recruited an actor who now lives in Florida, I believe, who worked with us, 5-6 years ago, but it's Zoom. So all of a sudden the entire world of actors was open to us, literally, and we could work with anybody anywhere.
Don't you love that? That's the one thing I think, like, the strange thing about the pandemic is that it's brought the people you live near farther apart, but people that live far away are much closer to you now than they ever have been.
Yeah, we've had some other actors who have worked with us in the past who are now joining us for the play readings that we're doing because they suddenly realized that they could.
Yeah.
That they could just pop in at 6 o'clock and read a play with us no matter where they are. And it's awesome. I do hope the one thing that lasts after the pandemic is over, whatever that means, is the innovation that we've come up with. I mean, I'm excited to get back on stage and to see live theater again, but I think we've come up with so many interesting ways to do other stuff. I hope some of it stays because it's cool.
This is sort of the same thing I talk about with like how I've sort of had to adapt with my shows on CTN, where, before we were much more constrained to having people in the studio, but now, like for instance, when I do Let's Watch with the Arbor Film Festival, which has people from all over the world in it, I can now interview someone from Sweden, and it's
Mhm.
not a big deal, and it's easy to do, and it's like the world is at your fingertips now, and it's in a way that we never sort of expected. Like Skype existed and all that stuff, but like when push came to shove and we really had to start changing our ways, we did, and it was much easier, I think, than any of us had expected it to be too.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of showed that this innovation was sitting at our fingertips.
Yeah.
We were almost like so wrapped up in this idea of there's so much energy that goes into, say, producing a play on stage that you don't have enough energy just to throw into what about this brand new thing? What about Zoom? It was there, it was staring at us. We just didn't do it. And then the pandemic came along and we had to. So here it is. There's really cool things happening because of it. Was the pandemic great? Absolutely not. Was the innovation great? I think so.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more from Isaac Ellis and the Brass Tacks Ensemble.
Hello, pals.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
This is Gregory Clark.
The name is Amanda Densmore.
My name is Charles Bonham.
I am Carla. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains.
I am Guy. Marshall.
I'm Oliver. Oliver Watts.
Sugursky here.
And remember, keep it short, keep it simple, keep it fun. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be any more.
I'm back with Isaac Ellis, and we were just talking about season 1 of our regularly scheduled program. And you were talking about, writing the monologues and sort of divvying them out for your actors and stuff. Did you have certain people in mind when you were creating these characters? Or did the characters come and you're like, oh, Russ Schwartz would be great for this character?
I think I had one, and I didn't know it until after I wrote it, and we were thinking about who it could be. And it actually was an actor, Rachel, who had worked with us before and then got wrapped up in life and work and family and all these things, and hasn't done a lot with us in quite a while. And she kind of was coming back and visiting every once in a while with some events we were doing, and all of a sudden I was like, I think she's the one. I need to do this. And it turns out that was one of my favorite ones to record because we were all just laughing the entire time. So, but for the most of it, we just wrote characters. And we actually, after we found out who was interested in reading them and in acting them, we changed at least 2 of them from male to female.
Oh, really?
We ended up having female actors come in to perform them, and they really liked the monologues. And for the most part, all we had to do was change a couple of pronouns, and it didn't change anything about the monologue. So we stayed as flexible as we possibly could in doing so. And in one instance created a gay relationship as well while doing it, and it still didn't change anything about the monologue whatsoever. It still kept the spirit of it there. So we leave this open as we're writing them, that we might end up casting it in a way that we never expected, but there's nothing wrong with that.
That's pretty amazing, because normally, like, I feel like when you are casting in theater, there's a lot of constraints. You know, they sort of tell you an age range and a gender and stuff. So, like, because you guys are creating these characters, you have the ability, the freedom to change that if you'd like to a man or a woman, or, you know, and it's easy. It's not like you have to go ask someone for permission to do it.
And as we're starting to write, we've brought in 3 other writers to join us for the second season. And we've started a writer's room where we talk about it, we discuss, and we're writing rough drafts and then discussing what works. The big thing that we found and are now saying out loud that we weren't saying at the time, but knew it, is that these are really character driven. It's not about a specific plot. It's about 5 minutes of interaction with this random person who got chosen and is there, and that we're showing to, you know, our world. And it's more about the feel and the intention and the character, and kind of crawling into this person's life for about 5 or 6 minutes than it is about, here's a plot point we have to hit and it's very important. So that really opens up the realm of what we're writing and how we're writing it and what we can do with it once it's done, and change it for whatever we're going to actually end up filming.
So talk about the actual process of filming. Is this sort of weird for you guys as actors? Because, I mean, normally you do a monologue, you're talking to an audience, or you find an object to look at, but it is a little bit different when you're looking into a camera. And I'm assuming that you're just looking at yourself when you're doing it.
Yeah, I think they tend to see us as well. So I say
Oh,
us.
so you're there. You guys are together. You're doing like a group Zoom where you're only
Yeah.
seeing the main person talking.
So James and I also directed all of them as well. And usually one of us, whoever wrote it, would hang back a little bit more, and the other person would throw stuff in because they hadn't, you know, written it. So they had different perspectives. And we would get on with the actor. There would be the 3 of us, and we'd talk about questions and what they thought, and they'd been memorizing it as best they could. The other interesting thing about this is that your script can be on your screen while you're being recorded. So
That is the nice part about Zoom, right?
yeah, you didn't have to memorize everything. You'd just be close. So we would talk for a little bit, and we usually ended up running it 3 times. That was our magic number, in an hour. And we would talk about it and really rehearse it exactly the way we'd rehearse a Brass Tacks show, of discussing the character, what questions they have, what's working, what's awkward, you know, getting those things working. And then by the 3rd take, I can't think of a single time where we weren't completely satisfied with what was happening. But it is a very interesting medium to be performing in, especially if you've never done, you know, video type stuff before. But when it really came down to it, it was the exact same premise. We rehearsed it the same. It was just more the technical nature of what we had to do before they could perform. You know, we had to mute ourselves. We had to make them the spotlit person or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had to give it time and then record it and then download everything and look at it, and which is much more than just get up on stage and let's just do this and see what happens. But we got quite proficient at it after a while, after recording 9 of them. And James and I are also in the first season as actors as well.
Yeah, you're the first episode.
Yes, yeah. So, which was we didn't know that actually until we were done recording them. And then we figured out the order that they were going to go in to tell the right story. So, for future seasons, we're actually trying to plan slightly more ahead and figure out what arc we're trying to tell within that season, and then write the pieces to fit them in. But again, it's all a little willy-nilly, and we can move everything around until we think it's perfect, which is interesting because live theater, you can kind of do that, but you kind of can't.
Yeah.
At some point, it has to go where it is. And with this, we can fiddle with it to make it the exact story we're looking to tell, but it was still live theater at the time. So it's kind of a hybrid now.
It feels like live theater when you watch it, though. It doesn't necessarily feel like you're watching a TV show. It feels like you're watching a monologue in someone's house.
Yeah, and I really enjoy. There are some wonderful awkward pauses and mistakes that happen during these live performances, and we just keep them in because they work with the character. They
It
work
makes
with.
it feel like the person's more real, and which is
Yeah.
what you're trying to aim for, is that these are real people sort of thrust into this situation that they don't necessarily want to be in.
Right, exactly. Essentially, you're sitting in front of this machine, whatever it is, and at some point a light comes on, and then you perform until the light goes off.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, happens, but you can't change it. And that's really what we were hoping to capture with it.
Yeah, and that's such a cool idea too, because when I think about people I know and myself, like someone like me might be okay with that, but someone like, my husband would hate it. He would absolutely, it would really bug him to be in a situation where he would have to like put on a performance.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it like makes you sort of think of the people you know and how they would feel in that situation too, which makes it even sort of funnier in a way to think about people's different personalities and how that situation would make them feel.
yeah, and I think we're hitting a little bit more of that in the second season, and kind of the connections that come along with it. That we realize most of them look like you and I do right now, where you don't know if anyone else is in their house, you don't know where they are, how they're living, and this is the only perspective you get. And this is an interesting perspective to try and go through and figure out who this person really is. Um, and I think one thing we tried to capture with some of these characters is just that, of maybe they had something prepared and maybe something like halfway through goes wrong, or they come to a realization they didn't think they had, or something happens within that 5 minutes of talking that if you suddenly have to get up in front of a bunch of people semi-prepared and do a speech, you never really know what's going to happen. I mean, how many terrible wedding speeches have we seen in our lives? Or like where someone interjects or something happens, an animal enters the room, or whatever. And just to watch all that kind of unfold in real time and see who these people are, it's just been entertaining to write and to film and to watch again.
Well, you sort of just mentioned why people should check it out. They can go on your website to find out more too, or just go on YouTube. What's the best way?
So multiple ways: Facebook page, website, btensemble.org, go on to YouTube, search for the Brass Tacks Ensemble or our regularly scheduled program. It should come up. Season 1 is there right now. It's 9 episodes. They're all probably between 5 and 7 or 8 minutes. I think I timed it out. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes to watch the entire thing straight through. So it's like the length of a full movie.
Yeah.
But you can watch them all. They're all, again, 9 segments, so you can watch them all, as you wish, and watch one a night. It'll be a good time.
I promise you don't have to watch them all at once.
Yeah. And then, we decided to continue on and work towards a second season because it's not really costing us any money. It's giving us an opportunity to get people writing. And now we have 5 artists in the area writing episodes for season 2. And we have 9 people who performed. And on top of that, season 2, we're going to bring some of the characters back. And also we're writing a whole bunch of new characters. So people might come back after like 2 or 3 seasons and appear again in the episodes. We can keep the range of who we're using and how many artists we're using enormous, which is fun right now when people can't get together. So.
Well, I hope everyone tunes in. I really enjoyed watching, and I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. And it's an easy watch. Like you said, it's short. You don't have to watch it all at once. You could watch one and then watch the next one later in the day or the next day. I thought it was really fun, and it sort of filled that missing theater niche for me at the moment. So, well, thank you for being a guest again on the show, Isaac.
Thanks for having me.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.